morning. Went from having sort of 5 minutes to spare that I was just fiddling around doing a few things to suddenly, I'm late. Nothing unusual there then. So good morning, welcome in. Got my silly little sign there. I was coming out of the bathroom, and it's funny how you sort of just ignore things, don't you, for a long time. One of my girls bought me this for Christmas quite some time ago, and I had it on the door upstairs when my craft room used to be upstairs, and I thought that needs to come downstairs. So do not disturb, we're very busy, extremely busy, doing very important things. That is indeed what we're going to be doing for the next little while. Very important things. So I'll pop that to one side, and I need to find somewhere to put that so that everybody knows that we're doing very important things. So welcome. I was looking at a business network Facebook page yesterday. I have such things that I follow on my Facebook, and a lady had put up hints and tips for doing a live video. Number one was always do your video in portrait, and I thought, no, that doesn't work for us. We always have to do our videos in landscape, because otherwise you don't get to see everything. Never make them more than 10 minutes long. Oh no, that doesn't work for us either. We'd never get anything crafted, would we, in 10 minutes? It takes us 10 minutes just to check in on everybody, let alone make anything. So I'm thinking, no expert lady. That might be true for lots of things, but that's certainly not true for any of my social media videos. So there you go. Every rule has an exception, and we're certainly the exception. Right, we're going to be playing some more with the Best Dressed Suite this morning, and I have got a couple of projects that I've thought about that we're going to have a go at and see what happens as we go along. So let us start. And we're going to be playing quite a bit with the papers today. So that lovely 6x6 paper. So morning Beryl, morning Valerie, and morning Jane, morning Lisa. Hope you're feeling a bit better this morning. The sun is shining. That always helps a little bit. But yes, we're going to be playing with these papers a little bit this morning. So let's pop that to one side. And then I have dug out the papers that I want, but they are really beautiful, these papers. I really quite like this one. I was looking at that one and wondering how I could use that one, but I haven't used that one this morning, but it is very pretty. And obviously we'll be dipping into the stamps and dies and things, I've no doubt, as well. But where shall we start? Let's start with this one. So this one, relatively easy, sort of a card, just using the papers, because there's one thing about when you've got really gorgeous papers like this, they can do all of the work for you in a lot of respects. I don't think I've turned that on silent. That's just no doubt my phone telling me that I've gone live, which it does helpfully. It's very helpful because it reminds me that I haven't turned it on to silent. So I'm going to take a piece of our thick Whisper White card, and I'm going to cut that at 14.9. Morning Molly. And I'm going to swing it round, and I'm going to score it at 10.5 to make a standard card base. Obviously you might have card bases at home ready-made or whatever, but they'll all be the same size. It's a standard card base. And then we're going to cut some of this paper up, and I've picked two of the papers out here. Let me move my little post-it note where I was scribbling. Evening Wendy. I'm in my post-it where I was scribbling notes as my thoughts were sort of flowing. Oh, I could do that, I could do that, I could do that. So the two papers I've picked is this one with this old olive with this spot on, and that's, oh, actually I've picked the same paper, look. So it's the same paper, it's either side of the same paper. No, I didn't actually know that. I'd just gone through and thought, oh, I like that spot, oh, I like that flower. It is actually either side of the same paper. But I think we're going to need both sheets. Let's see how we go. So this green spot I am going to cut to 10 centimetres wide. and I'm going to trim it so it is 14.4 long. And that's just going to sit on there. And yeah, we are definitely going to need this one. I'm going to trim this one so it is do I want it to be, no, I am going to do it so there's a thought process going on. I'm going to trim it so it is 9.5 by 13.9, so I'll come down 0.5 centimetre either way. Morning, Karen. So we've got that little hint of spottiness coming through the background there. Let's move that out of the way for a minute, because I'm now going to take this piece of paper and I have picked out a couple. Where has the other one gone? Here it is. I have picked out a couple of the stitched label dies. I'm going to cut one out of the middle of that piece of paper, because once that's on the front, we're not going to know that it's got a hole in the middle. So let me just run that through my Big Shot, through my die cutting machine, and it doesn't matter particularly if it's particularly level, as long as it's not, the hole isn't peeping out over our top layer, it really doesn't matter. So I've now got a stitched green spotty, so you can see that that's on there, and we're going to have a stitched green spotty on the top there. And then I'm going to take this little label just here and some Whisper White card, and I'm just going to cut a label from Whisper White. We're going to have a label coming across. So this is how easy it is to build up a really pretty card, just using, so far we've not used anything other really than our papers and a bit of white card. I did pick out of my ribbon box the Daffodil Delight ruched ribbon, as I'm thinking we can have some coming across here with our greeting on the top there, and we'll have a bit of a bow going on. So first of all, let's stamp a greeting. Now for this one, I have picked a greeting from the Love What You Do stamp set. So I haven't taken the greeting from the Best Dressed stamp set. It's come from the Love What You Do. And it says, I'm lucky to have a friend like you. I don't know about you, but I'm incredibly lucky to have some really wonderful friends. And I think we're going to stamp that in Blackberry Bliss. Let me just move that there and bring this down here. Find a block. Let's have our mat in. So I hope everybody is doing okay on this fine morning or evening or wherever you are. For those of us that are demonstrators, I think the clock that's ticking down to catalogue launch must by now be 10 hours something. It won't be long before it's in single figures. So that's very exciting. There we are. I'm lucky to have a friend like you. Now I am going to dip back to our Best Dressed, Dressed to Impress stamp set now, and I'm going to pick out, we've not really had much of a play with these little, there's this little foliage stamp, and there is these spots, and we've not used either of those, so I thought it was time we did. So let me get my tiny block, excuse my arm, and I think we'll get some old olive, and I'm going to put a bow the other end. So let's have little flourish of foliage, that end. That's really quite cute, isn't it, that little foliage stamp. And then the other colour we've predominantly got in our papers and things is Daffodil Delight. So let's grab some Daffodil Delight and let's just add in a few Daffodil Delight spots. Pop those just there for now. Right, put the lids on our ink pads so that we don't lean in them. Give that one a bit of a squidge. And let us start to build. Morning, Francis. So, has anybody got anything? I was thinking this morning, as I was in the shower, I was thinking about what colours I'd like to see in the new ink colours. But has anybody got any thoughts for what they'd like to see in this new catalogue? And so all demonstrators are going to be able to have a look at it later online. Have you got any thoughts of what you'd like to see in it? So anything in terms of, is there particular stamp sets you'd like to see in it? Is there particular dies you'd like to see in it? Is there something you're hoping for in terms of colour, in terms of, you know, some sort of, you know, I'd like a suite that is all focused on, oh, I don't know, sweet peas. That was random. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, have you got, what are our thoughts? What are our hopes and dreams? Obviously, every year I'm looking for ducks. I want something seriously ducky. I've had little ducks in the past, but I need an entire duck suite. I'm not sure that I shall get an entire duck suite, but is there anything that you are looking for? I have stuck my snail on the wrong side on that, haven't I? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Helen? No, I haven't. No, yes I have. I've put snail on the wrong side. No, I haven't. I've put my ribbon on the wrong side. Oh, for goodness sake. Do you know? Morning, Megan. Giraffes. Jane wants giraffes. Okay. Not enough giraffes in your life. There are odd little giraffes in some stamp sets. But perhaps a whole sort of safari suite. Is that what we could do with? That would be quite fun, wouldn't it? Right, now we're starting to get a bit of a grip on ourselves. Let's stick that on there. Yeah, I've just got a little bit of snail there and there for the ribbon, but that's all right. If it's still sticking out, sticky in a minute, I'll take my glue eraser to it. So then we're going to put our spotty label on the top there. And that I think will stick down flat over the top of that ribbon. And then we'll take some dimensionals. I always need a nice children's sort of themed collection. Obviously having 2 young grandchildren and another one on the way. So yes, want something nice baby-ish. I need something nice in the baby department. We have a new baby coming in the autumn. So we're going to put that across there like that. We'll take our ribbon and tie a bow. I've opened the door because it felt very warm. Excuse me. but the pollen count is very high at the moment because the sun is shining, and it does tend to be the blossom that starts me off with hay fever, so apologies for sneezing. More memories and more for you, Lisa. Oh, yeah. We had some beautiful packs, didn't we, last catalogue? So that Come Sail Away pack and the Magnolia pack. And obviously we were playing on Sunday with the one that goes with the Tropical Oasis. That's gorgeous. That Christmas one we had this year was really lovely. So, yep, they're good. So let's put a little bit of a bow on there. That's really rather pretty. So that is just crash, just knocked a tin off with my elbow. So that is just using those papers and not doing very much with them really, although we've cut that label out of the centre of this back piece. Added in another label with a greeting on. We could put a bit of sparkle on there possibly. We could have some dimensionals, some rhinestones on there possibly. In fact, I might put a couple. Come here, might have one just here. Actually, I'm just going to scatter a few round just here. I'm going to have another one down amongst those spots just there. Excuse me, I think we could potentially just scattering around now. I'm just looking, I'm wondering, that little foliage stamp is very reminiscent of the sprig punch. Do we want a couple of little vellum sprigs in, or is that going to be overkill? I'm thinking that might be slightly overkill. I'm going to take those out. We could add in some flowers and things, but actually I quite like that just as it is. I think we're going to leave that just as it is. And that is just purely allowing those papers to do the work for you, adding in a label. Right, so that's one card. That's quite a simple little card. The other one is perhaps going to take us a little bit longer. And this one, it was because the other day Stella said about one of these papers, and I don't know whether it was this paper or whether it was one of the other papers. She said, oh, I'd really like that in fabric. And that got me thinking. We were thinking yesterday, we made our little denim backpack and we ran it through the Subtles embossing folder to give it that sort of look of sort of linen-y, fabric-y denim. It was what we were after. And it made me think about when in the past we've done some little dress cards. Now then, I cannot take credit for this. I've just dug this out of my filing cabinet. This is a template that I've had hanging around for years. I have no idea who the original was that I saved it from. It is going back into the deep dark recesses of time. But we've used this quite a few times and I've got quite a few of these. So there is our little template, and we're going to use our template to create a dress. As you can see, this template isn't even particularly even, it just is sort of roughly hand drawn, and that wasn't me roughly hand drawing, that was literally as I'd downloaded it from the internet. So I'm just going to cut round that. Morning, Emma. I'm going to cut round this skirt bit, and then we will use that as a pattern to cut our skirt out. And then this is the little bodice bit, and I thought the bodice we would have, looking at the colours in there, I thought we would go with a purple posy little bodice. So let's just cut that out. I'm going to cut through both layers at once. So what I will do in the comments afterwards, I will post a picture of one of these templates, just so that if you fancy having a go yourself, you'll just be able to print off the picture and have a bit of a tweak with it. So there we are, we've just used that as our bodice piece on our dress, and then this we're going to use for our skirt. So let's just literally do that. Obviously we could have had our bodice piece matching our skirt. That's a kaftan shift dress, the handbag. Ooh. I keep looking at the oh right, yes, I can see. Yep. Yeah, how that would make a shift dress. I keep looking at the die and the stamp for the perfume bottle, and I keep thinking computer monitor, and I was thinking that probably computer monitor and keyboard, but I hadn't thought any more than that as to how you would go with that. But that thought did come to me the other day. But yes, you certainly could use that as a kaftan. So let me just cut around this circly bit here. And then what we've got here is we've just got some dotted score lines on it, and the dashed sides are the arms. Yep, here. So there's your sleeves. So this is your top, and here are your sleeves. It's quite fun, isn't it? Might run that through in a minute, and so that everybody can see what we mean. So we've literally got our card like this, and these are going to be valley folds and the others are going to be mountain folds. So let's take our piercing mat just here, and our little embossing tool, and just using that template as a guide, we're just going to run that down there. So that's going to be a valley, that's going to be a mountain, that's going to be a mountain, that's going to be a valley, valley, mountain, mountain, valley. Right, okay, so valley, there's our next one, mountain, next one is mountain, valley, so valley, mountain, mountain, valley. If we come over this way, it's valley. So it's like two box pleats, mountain, that one's not quite right. Let's just do that side again. Not quite right. I think that might have moved. In fact, what I'll do is I'll leave that template on there and fold that last one. I wonder if that all moved. That's valley. That's mountain. That's mountain and that's valley. That's it. We're there. By George, we've got it. So we have got, using our template as our guide, we have got a little box pleated skirt bottom like that, and we have our little top to our dress like that. So what I thought I would do with the top to that dress is to give it a little bit of interest, because obviously this is going to be an elegant gown. I've grabbed the ornate floral embossing folder that we had in the ornate in the early release suite. So let's sit that in there, and we're just going to run that through. I'm going to need my blue embossing plate, so just dig around and get that out. Throw it on the floor. Something always ends up on the floor, doesn't it? Right, so let's run that through the machine. So obviously this is really in keeping with the whole lipstick and handbags, and so we've now got a pretty floral skirt with a really pretty embossed bodice. Morning, Louise. I'm going to move those to one side. I'm going to hang on to my template because these can be quite addictive. You can then go on to make lots of flowers. I know certainly we did this in a class a long time ago, and one of the ladies became absolutely addicted to making these lovely floral dresses, and I think she probably still does. Fabulous lady, well into her 90s, but she really loved making dresses. So there's our dress. Let's leave that to one side for a minute while we think about what else we're going to have to go with our dress, because obviously we need to get our dress onto a card. So we're going to need some, I think we're going to need some shoes with this dress. So let's stamp and colour in a pair of shoes to go with it. So we'll get some memento and somewhere I've got a piece of wisp white card that we cut a label out of just now. So we will stamp a pair of shoes. Oh, I'll get rid of that black ink off my finger. And then we'll grab the dies and cut out our shoes. Rebuild my die cutting machine. There's one. But obviously you're going to need another. Now, thinking about what we would like to see, what we're hoping that's going to come up in new catalogues. When I was thinking about this, I was umming and ahhing whether I should go and dig about in my retired, morning Doreen, whether I ought to go and dig around in my retired dies and dig out my little baby coat hanger. That coat hanger is so useful, and obviously it would have been really nice to have had a little coat hanger to hang my dress on. So perhaps it's time for some more coat hanger type things. Perhaps we want, you know, some dresses and things. We haven't had sort of dresses and things, have we? So pretty dresses and coat hangers, that would work, wouldn't it? If any of these things come up, it's not because I have any insight. It will be pure luck. So I think purple posy shoes to go with this, to go with her purple posy bodice on her dress. So let's put down some dark purple posy. And we'll carry on the purple inside. We'll perhaps have a bit more dark on the toe. Let's come in with the light and blend that out a bit. And up here. Obviously purple posy is a beautiful colour, but it was a little bit of a pickle in terms of being able to create the ink pads. It's just its little chemical formula just would not work. But we have got beautiful purple posy card and purple posy ribbon embellishments. And get your stamping white markers in purple posy. What I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to take, if I can find it. Why can you never find the colour you want when you want it? The trouble is, of course, I've always been geared up to taking classes out on the road. And so all of my supplies are geared up. If I never did anything other than at-home stuff, I'd have them on a shelf here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my light smoky slate to do that sort of insole piece just there, and my heel. So there we go. We have a pair of shoes to go with our dress. I wonder if, let me see if I can find the handbags. Yes. Now there's a couple of handbags there that are purple posy. I think I'm going to go just looking around for my snips, which seem to have wandered. How very rude. I do have another pair in my case, so I'm going to grab those because this is not a job for a big pair of scissors. Right, let's cut out a handbag, because we can't have her going out in her fancy dress without a handbag to match. Got my take pick tool. I can't see them. There's my snail. It's not to say that they're not staring me in the face, Megan, but I don't think so. I haven't actually had them this morning, so they may well. They're going to be buried somewhere. Now I'm just going to take my craft. Oh, they're just here. Look at that. No, they're not. They're the ones I've just used. Oh, dear, dear, dear. Do you know, I often thought when people went on about, you know, or it all comes with age, you think, oh, really, you know, when you're younger, get a grip. It really does. The brain gets more and more addled every day. The word blindness. Every day I think, oh, I'm turning into my mum. I loved my mum. I adored my mum. Best mum in the world. But she could be a little bit scatty. And yes, I am becoming that woman. Still, if I take after in every other respect, I'll be happy with that. Right, so there we go. So we've just, by cutting that, using my craft knife just to be able to cut into that, made it cutting out that handle a little bit easier. So we've got a handbag now. Dress, shoes, handbag. She's going to be quite well dressed. Now, at this point, I could be mad, but I thought we would use the stitched lace die as a background. It is so beautiful. So let me cut a piece of cardstock, and I'm going to cut it so that it is 13.9 by 9.5. Because we're going to want a bit of a flash of colour behind that. And I am then going to, yeah, it is, I have got, yeah, there is lots on your mind as well, isn't it? There is lots going on, but there is, I think, certainly something to be said for the hormonal elements of it as well, for ages and stages. Right, I am going to run this through my Big Shot. Now, it is an incredibly intricate die. I am not expecting to give this one run through my Big Shot and for it to be absolutely brilliant. I have to say, I haven't had any real problems with this die. So I have run it through that way twice, and just looking at that, I can see that there's patches where it hasn't quite cut. So I'm now going to flip it so that it's card upwards and run that through a couple of times. So I'm not using any precision base plates or anything. That's just my Big Shot as it is. Now looking at that, so I've run it twice face down, twice face up. Oh, have you, Angie? You've got a die that cuts it out. Right, let's So that now looks as if that has cut beautifully. We shall soon find out. I'm going to lay that down on there, and let's take my sticky thing out of there and pop my brushy thing in. Give that a good brush over the top. Still not releasing. Come on, off you come. And as we take that off, a few more flick out. Look at that, isn't it stunning? And let's see any more that are stuck in. Isn't that beautiful? And look at that, all stuck on there. So not many little spots lying around. They're all on that mat. So we have that beautiful white lacy dye. I'm going to grab a piece of purple posy cardstock. And we'll cut a piece of this so that it measures 10 by 14.4, and have our white lace panel on the top. It's gorgeous, isn't it, Valerie? It's beautiful. And then we'll build up our dress. And decide where we're going to have handbags and shoes. You can see why I could have done really with a coat hanger. That die is called the stitched lace. The stitched lace dies. So you get that great big die that cuts out that lace, and then you get this piece here. So if I'd have wanted to, I could run this piece through, and can you see, cut out so that you get like a border of the lace. So obviously you could do both sides and have just a strip of lace. Yeah, so you could cut both sides and have a strip of lace. But it really is beautiful, isn't it? It's not a die to expect to be able to run it through once and it's all going to pop out. But I have to say, I've never used a precision base plate with it. It just is about, my thoughts on intricate dies are, expect to have to run them through a few times, because, you know, you couldn't cut those by hand. No way. So yeah, if you have to run it through a few times, yeah, so what? It's still easier than trying to cut that out by hand. So we've got our little pair of shoes, we've got our dress, we've got a handbag. Yeah, I could draw on a coat hanger. I am just going to leave it floating. That's okay. It is as it is. So let's start building this up. What happened to our piece of card base? Let's score this at 10.5, and then we've got our white card base. And we'll start sticking down. Yeah, it's really beautiful die. I do forget about it, actually. It was just suddenly I was thinking, I don't know quite what I want in the background there. And I thought, I know what would work quite well. So obviously when it comes to sticking it, it's sort of a question of putting some little blobs, either using a double-sided sticky stuff. Who's hoping for some more double-sided sticky stuff in the new catalogue? So obviously we did have some for a little while. So that would be a good thing. We'd like some more of that, because for dies like this, just to be able to peel the back off. Stick it on is an absolute boon. Oh, I've just spotted a little bit that's not poked out. Am I going to, if I don't do it now, am I going to be able to find it again in a minute? Gotcha, little bit. So yes, so for any of you papers that you think to yourself, wouldn't that look pretty as fabric? Well, use it as fabric. Make a dress, make a skirt. We could make a caftan. I think drawing a hanger would be quite hard on this actually, Valerie, because of the patterned background. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue on these pieces of the skirt that are flat at the back. Actually, I'm wondering whether it wouldn't... Yeah, I think I'm going to go on a bit of an angle. So let's stick down those pieces of the skirt that we've just put the glue on. And then those panels are going to stick forward. That actually gives us a bit more space down here for some shoes. Let's put the second shoe up with some dimensionals. Let's just come along and snip along this side piece. So we're going to use every last bit of that. 1, 2. Morning, Mel. Lovely to see you, to have you join us. What to do with you? Straightening up a little bit. There we go. There's our second shoe. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this bodice. Isn't it funny if they do come out with a skirt dye or something later on? Be like, oh, just gone to all that length to cut that out. Actually, I quite like that bag, I think, tucked in behind that shoe, so let's do that. Now, I did think that the other thing I would do would be to stamp let's take that little flower just there, and our memento. Now we could go in with our blobs on that, and Blackberry Bliss. I'm thinking, no, I think we can go in full strength. Let's do a Blackberry Bliss. And our other little blob we have as an old olive. And then we'll find the flower die for that. It's the one with a single flower, that one just there, so let's cut that out. Oh, I'm determined to get black ink on my fingers. There's a bit of a, I'll have a think about that. That might be a bit bigger than it needs to be actually. Perhaps it is a little bit too big, so let us come back to the paper we started with. And cut out a little flower, and I'm going to cut out one of these little foliage leaf pieces as well. That's better, much smaller. I'll stick that on in a minute. I'm fine, thank you, Mel. Hope you're doing okay. And then the other thing, I thought greeting wise, I thought this one has to be the Hello Fabulous. There's that one just here. And I think we'll do that in Blackberry Bliss as well. And somewhere I grabbed the Timeless label. So, Hello Fabulous. Put the lid on. Let's find a little bit of purple posy card. And we will cut that in half. Thank you, Angie. I'll stick that on the back. So we'll just line that up a little bit so we've got a little bit of purple posy peeping out. Top and bottom. possibly use our flower up there. So let's stick that little flower onto that label there. And let's stick this little flower onto this bodice with this little tiny bit of greenery. I must nail down that just to make it a bit sticky. You have that sticking out underneath. I'm thinking we'll have that tucked a little bit underneath as well, so it's sort of coming out from behind there. Need that tucking in underneath that skirt, that's better. How are we doing? Hello, fabulous. Rather beautiful. A little diamante there. Another just there. And obviously we can't just have two, we'll need a third somewhere. So we'll pop one in the middle of that flower just there. How's that? So you've got that lacy background, we've got paper, we've got embossing, we've got all sorts of things, colouring in with stamping blends, fussy cutting. We've got a bit of everything going on in that one. So there we go. So a very quick and simple card, letting the paper do all the work. So we've just cut this label from that background, added in a label on the top that we've stamped, and then we've got this one that we've used that paper template to create a skirt for that dress with its embossed bodice. So great stuff. So we're getting quite a little collection. So that's today's. We had shoes yesterday and our little denim backpack. Still has its Tic Tacs in it. And we had our little bag full of note cards on Monday. So I think we're probably still going to be able to find something for tomorrow. Now, I'm thinking tomorrow we might do some sort of a fancy fold card. So if you have a particular fancy fold card that you think that I should do, let me know. Comment and I will take suggestions from the floor. So let me know, what sort of fancy fold card do you think that we could create with this beautiful set? So not just the papers obviously, but the stamps, the dies, we can fussy cut handbags, we can perfume bottles. There's quite a lot of little perfume bottles and makeups. So let me know if you have a fancy fold card that you think we should create with this suite. Let me know, otherwise I will pick one for tomorrow. So thank you for joining me. I will go away and find another of those templates, and I will add a picture of them to the comments, as I say, so that then you can grab one and print it off. Mine was sort of the complete template that I've cut out of was about an A5 sheet, so you'd get two, so whatever the picture is, if you print it at the size that you've got in 2 to an A4 sheet or 2 to letter size, that will be about the size that I used. But obviously there's absolutely no reason why you can't explode it up or shrink it down, have small ones, big ones, whatever you like. But yes, have a great day. Say, for those of you that are demonstrators, enjoy that catalogue in 10 hours, or is it 9 hours now? Or I think we might have sort of clicked over. Who knows? Not long. 9 hours something it'll be, won't it? It'll be about 9 hours 55 minutes or something like that. It'll be down to single figures. So however long it is, just under 10 hours, you enjoy that when you get to see it. And tomorrow we'll have to see. I can't share the catalogue with you. I'm not going to share very much. I'll just let you know if we were spot on with any of our hopes and dreams for what we hoped was going to be in there. So, see you all tomorrow.